Hello everybody, it's time once again for another still frame review, and this time my friend Nathaniel Ornate, as he's known online, has asked me to review the Lego Movie and the Lego Movie 2, the second part. I'm talking a little fast because I want to squeeze in both movies in one review, because that's the kind of crazy guy I am. Alright, the Lego Movie. A Lego construction worker, Emmett, voiced by Chris Pratt, finds a piece of resistance and it gets glued onto his back. The piece of resistance is actually the top to a crazy glue tube, and there is a prophecy surrounding the piece of resistance that the special, who is Emmett, will take the piece of resistance and put it on the tube of crazy glue known as the Craggle and stop the evil Lord Business from gluing everybody in the universe. The special is supposed to be the most creative, interesting master builder of all the Lego people, but unfortunately Emmett cannot do anything outside of the instructions. So with the help of other real master builders, Wild Style Vitruvius, and Lego Batman, Emmett journeys to Lord Business's evil secret lair to put the thing on the other thing. There he jumps into the infinite void and lands in the real world, where he discovers that he and this story is actually all taking place in the imagination of this real world boy named Finn, who is playing with all of his dad's Lego sets and creating all these things not according to the instructions, which infuriates his dad, who is actually Lord Business, and he wants to crazy glue all of his real Legos together to keep them all the same. So now Finn and Emmett have to convince Lord Business and the dad to let them play. This 2014 film was written and directed by Chris Miller and Phil Lord, the comedy duo, and this has their trademark style of humor full of self-aware jokes and a really high JPM, jokes per minute rate. But even though it is crazy and it does have a high JPM, it's not constant chaos. This is still very smart, according to Miller and Lord's style, and it knows how to pace itself well, going from slow to fast, and knows when to take a breath and when to speed things up. It's got an incredibly creative, photorealistic style of animation that is supposed to imitate stop-motion Lego films. And everything in this universe is incredibly imaginative, especially even down to the little details of how things in a Lego universe should be like how water is made up of little studs and things of that nature. This film uses pop culture very well. It's not just random references, but it actually helps the story along. And the casting is perfect, with Chris Pratt as Emmett, Morgan Freeman as Vitruvius, Elizabeth Banks as Wild Style, and I think Will Arnett as Lego Batman is one of the best celebrity voice casting decisions in the last decade. Of course, I keep thinking Batman wants to sell me Reese's, but besides that, it's perfect. But what makes the Lego Movie so great, and not just a funny animated movie, is that it talks about real things through the humor. It has things to say about society, about God, and about this father-son relationship. In a world where everything is random and can go crazy, and really there's no consequences if you want there to be no consequences, adding this real-world element of the father and son adds purpose and weight to it all, allowing the audience to get much more invested than they would if this movie took place all in the Lego world. And what I especially like about this movie is that even though the messages are all the same kind of hippie stuff that you see in all kids' movies of these last 2 decades of being special and believing in yourself, this movie still has the self-awareness to ground that stuff and kind of make fun of it, and constantly winks at the audience, letting you know that the world's a little more realistic than that. What really stood out to me was the one scene where Emmett is shown the video montage of all his construction worker friends, and he learns that they don't even really remember him because he's not all that special. In most stories where a character doesn't feel special and that's their whole problem throughout the piece, I don't feel any sympathy for them because they just feel generally mopey about them not feeling special. And that may work for some people who had that problem when they were younger, but for other people, it's not something you can necessarily relate to. And I keep thinking, well, if you want to be special, then that means you want to be different from everyone else. So everyone else would be unspecial and feel lousy, while you would feel better for yourself. So you're actually kind of a terrible person, you stupid snowflake. But what Miller and Lord do with Emmett's character is they give him a specific emotion tied to not feeling special. He feels loneliness. And when I see loneliness, I go, okay, I can relate to that now. I can feel sorry for Emmett, not because he doesn't feel special, but because he feels lonely because he's not feeling special. And tying a character's problem to a specific emotion is really, really important. It's subtle, and 99% of writers miss it, but it needs to be done. I cannot even really think about anything bad about this movie. The Lego Movie is one of the best made animated movies of the 2010s by far, and I am going to have to give it an A for awesome. But wait, there's more. The Lego Movie 2, the second part. After Finn's sister Bianca starts playing with Finn and his Legos, she brings down these aliens to the world of Bricksburg, where it has devolved over the years into Apocalypseburg, a Mad Max style universe where everybody is gritty and dark. But then General Sweet Mayhem from the Sistar system kidnaps a bunch of Emmett's friends and takes them to Queen Whatever I Wanna Be. There, she gets engaged to Batman and seemingly brainwashes the friends into going along with it. And the wedding will supposedly prevent this apocalyptic event called Armageddon, where Bianca and Finn's mom throws all the Legos into the storage. Emmett, thinking that his friends are in danger, goes on a space quest to the Sistar system and runs into Rex Dangervest, a cool guy who helps him along the way. And without going into spoilers, by the end it turns out that who they thought was the villain wasn't necessarily a villain, and the main problem they thought was the problem wasn't actually the problem, and through some fancy time travel stories, the main villain ends up not existing. The movie doesn't really feel all that different from the first movie. The jokes are all still of the same style, although it's still entertaining. The only bit of humor that I saw was really different and unique was this one 5-second intermission parodying the classic "Let's All Go Into the Lobby" song. And it could be reminiscent of old musicals with intermissions. And in fact, it is stated in this movie that they might be inside a musical, and there are a few songs. I'm not mad at the movie being a musical. In fact, I kind of wish they leaned more into it, so the feeling of the movie, the genre, would be more unique from the first movie. And the few songs they had were not bad. I think they could have done well with more of them. Although the song, "This Song's Gonna Get Stuck Inside Your Head," did not get stuck in anyone's head, and that part's kind of embarrassing. Also, the plot's not as clear as the first one. It's not necessarily confusing, but the first one was put the thing on the thing. That was the whole goal of the movie. In this one, the goals keep changing, and since who we thought was the villain and what we thought was the problem was not the villain and was not the problem, and since the time travel element made the villain kind of not exist by the end, it makes the story feel a little pointless. And also, they completely destroyed the dad character. That also bugged me. He went from having this really emotional arc with his son in the first movie to this goofy, dumb one-line character in the second movie. The movie is still entertaining, but it just doesn't make as compelling choices as the first movie. A brother and sister relationship is inherently not going to be as interesting as a father and son relationship. Emmett gaining relationships, like in the first movie, is always going to be inherently more interesting than him refining them, like in the second movie. And a clear-cut, simple plot is going to be more interesting than a slightly more confusing goal-shifting plot. So the sequel is basically the Lego Movie, just not as the Lego Movie as the Lego Movie, which is a typical problem of sequels. It just tries to be the first one, and sometimes they're really entertaining, like this one, but not as entertaining. Watching them back to back, it does feel kind of like a knockoff. Not a cheap knockoff, but still a knockoff, and it feels more like a C movie, but I think taken by itself, watching it removed from the first movie, it really does deserve a B. So I'm gonna give it a B for Bricksburg. Those are my thoughts on the Lego Movies Parts 1 and 2. What did you think of those movies? Let me know, and also let me know of any other films or television shows you'd like me to review. That's it for now. See you later.